Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of a Man once again, and today we're going to do another light novel review. Today's review is on Volume 3 of Der Werwolf, The Annals of Veight. This one is subtitled as Unification of the South. So this book is written by Hoigetsu. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly. And its illustrations are by Nishi Eda. And it's published by J Novel Club. And the genres here are isekai and fantasy. It doesn't have an adaptation. Yeah, so before we start, let me explain how I do my reviews. So I look at 5 things. I look at plot, characterization, and world building. These 3 are what I rate my book on. And then I look at art and fan service. Now, these 2 are purely for the enjoyment purposes. And so on the art, since it's such a subjective thing, I will only really state my opinion and my feelings about it. And for the fan service here, it's mostly a warning for anyone that's not into it. And yeah, that's basically it. So the premise here, and I'll hold the book up for that, is that they're unifying the South now after the coronation of Movi as the new demon lord and Veight being promoted to her right-hand man. The South of the continent needs to be unified and turned into this new nation state for the demons and humans to coexist. And so Veight, being the guy that he is charged with doing this. So this journey basically has him meeting these scoundrel guys, this older, more refined scoundrel guy. Then they fight a kraken. And then, you just keep going, lots of politicking, lots of ingenious ways of fixing problems, and just a lot of fun. Shenanigans happen all over. And yeah, that's the essential premise of the book right now. So the plot here is actually really good. It's a little slower than the first 2. In this book, Veight kind of has to slow down, and there's a lot more political situations happening instead of lots of battles and fights and weird situations where he has to battle. There are some, like I mentioned, they fight a kraken, and then there's another army that tries to come in. So there is that. But in general, most of this book is about the political aspects. It's about Veight going to different places and meeting with these people and interacting with them and giving and taking and figuring out what they want in order to give it to them in a way that benefits him. And, there's a lot of it. And it's actually really interesting to me. I really enjoy it. I think it's rather good, and it's a nice change of pace from the very action-oriented, more shonen-style light novels that I've read, and a lot of manga and anime that I read and watch. So I quite liked it. What else? I think the plot is actually a little better than Volume 2, or at least the plot lines that are similar. Like in Volume 2, when Veight does the whole thing with Aram, with the other viceroy, I found it not as interesting as when he does the same thing in this volume with new different viceroys like Garsh and Shatina. That's it for the plot. It's rather, like I said, it's fun, it's good, and it's interesting, but it's not very action heavy. There's 2 major action scenes that I can think of. One of them is a naval battle against this kraken thing, which actually was really cool, really interesting. And the other one that I can think of is a siege against one of the southern towns. I think, there's technically a 3rd battle scene in the short story at the end, but I don't know if that really counts as part of the plot of the main book. So yeah, the characterization here, moving on, is rather good. I really enjoy the new characters that are shown. Parker, who is this skeletal necromancer guy, is really annoying, but in a funny way. That's the kid's dad, Shinigami, the Shinigami guy from Soul Eater. How he's super what's the word, in love with his son, or like emoto kind of stuff. That's kind of like Parker's personality. He's really like doting and like wants to be around Veight a lot, and he calls him his younger brother, and Veight is very put off by it because he finds it annoying. And so there's a funny like weird dynamic there between them that I thought was fun. And I mean, because I'm not the one being annoyed, I think it's rather funny. So Parker's a cool guy. There's Garsh and Vitria, which are the two of the viceroys. They're kind of like Mediterranean inspired. One of them is much more like Greek or Italian, and the other one is more like slightly more to the Asian side of things. But they're both like pirate guys. Garsh is a young scoundrel who is the viceroy of the first ocean-based town that they go to. I can't remember the name of the town. But yeah, he's a cool guy. He's very suave and like a bit rough around the edges, kind of like Jack Sparrow or Han Solo, something like that. But he is actually a rather caring individual at the end, and Veight and him have like some bro moments that are pretty cool. Vitria is Garsh's like father figure. And he's also like this fun, suave old guy, you know, pretty normal. And then there's Shatina, who has an unfortunate name. Maybe Satina is probably a more accurate pronunciation. She's very much of this almost Arabic inspired city place. It reminds me of like Byzantine Istanbul from like Assassin's Creed 3 or something like that. You know, lots of towers, high places, everyone's dressed in a very like Eastern-esque type of way. And yeah, she's like this cute younger girl that's very like emotional. A lot of bad stuff happens to her during the progression of the plot here, so it's nice that she can, you know, still emote even after all the stuff. And Veight takes her under his wing and makes her like his apprentice. And so there is some dynamic between her and some of the girls that are around Veight that is reminiscent of a harem, but the reality is that Veight is very unaware of all of this. So he just looks at them like they're doing something odd, which they really are. And then there's Forne, who's this like sleazy, effeminate man. And yeah, so this book has a slight like funny, enjoyable kind of like what's the word? Homoerotic tone, I guess. I don't know what to call it. Like there's a lot of well, they're not exactly bro moments because they have some sort of like weird, slightly sexual undertone. Although I could just be reading into it, but I definitely feel like there is some of that. And it's really, it's not odd, but it's different from what you would normally see in a light novel like this. So I thought it was interesting. It's not exactly my cup of tea, but I still enjoyed it for what it was, and I thought it was quite fun. Because Veight is a little like off-put, but not exactly like against it, so it's kind of like funny. And yeah. So that's all the new characters. Was there really any expansion on the old characters besides Veight? Kind of. Fenrir has a bit of a character arc in the side story. Or, well, more like you get some of her past revealed. Elaine, nothing really happens with her. Arya steps up and becomes a bit more of a main character here. And Lacey as well, Lacey, she is rather useful to Veight because of her illusion magic. So he brings her along very often because that's going to help her grow as an illusionist. Because apparently, according to him, the more things she sees, the better that she can recreate them and better serve as an illusionist. And so that like helps her up her craft. So great character work. World building here is good. There's mermaids and krakens introduced here. And there's a bit of science. We know that the Dragonkin are rather scientific from their ability of making fireworks and stuff. So using some of that technology, they use it to battle this Kraken in a rather ingenious way. And so essentially using chemistry, they make the water around it poisonous. And using magic, they do a bunch of other stuff, and it's really cool. So I like the world building aspect where even demons are able to use what you would consider human techniques in most other books, in this case science, to beat out monsters, which is cool. And there's the regular amount of nation building that's really prevalent in these books. And yeah, that's basically it. For the art here, if we're moving on, I really like it. There's the cover. Here is the scroll. There's Garsh. There's a pretty mermaid. Here's Veight in his crazy werewolf version. There's Parker. That's Shatina, who looks much more Western than I would have thought, but you know, whatever. That's Petore, and that's Forn. There's some more mermaids around them. Here is the cover, but made larger. See, Arya is in there, and that's it. We get more character cards again, which I am very much for. I really like them. You see there's Kurtz and Baltz. Lacey is there, Aram is there. We get the map again, which is great. And another the story so far page. Here we go. This is Parker showing off his illusion magic. Here, this is one of my favorite images of the whole book. That was great. I thought it was crazy what they did here. I'm not gonna explain any more of it though, but it was quite fun. Here is a bit of a celebratory hug. Veight is using his superior strength to manhandle his friends. Here we have Petore and a mermaid. It's Baltz being humanized a bit, following the previous book. Here's another one of those weird moments where Veight's very unsure if he's being propositioned or not, or propositioned or not. Veight makes a comment of this, and he's very confused, but he's not against it really. Here we go. Another nice scene. Quite like it. Sorry for the glare on the screen. I'm having to use a lamp to make sure that I don't look completely, dark. And so it bounces off the screen. There you go. And then there's some more sketches on the back. Which there are in other chapters, or other books, but I thought these were the best ones. Let me show them up close. There you go. Movi being a badass lolly witch. There you go. And so yeah, I really like the illustrations here. I think the sketchiness is nice and fitting of the style that this book is going for. I would still prefer finished illustrations, but I think the sketchiness adds to the motion of the piece, and so it makes it feel less stilted, which is an issue I've had with other light novels arts before, or other light novel art before. So yeah. And fan service here, I can't think of any off the top of my head. This series is very light, if it exists at all, fan service wise in this, so it's good. If anyone's interested in a fantasy text that isn't, fan servicey as all get out, this one's a good one. And my rating overall is a 5.5 out of 5 or a 10 out of 10. I don't know if it's purely an emotional response. I think I do think it through enough. It's just that I really can't justify giving it any lower score, because I think it's a rather, great book, and it's on par with some of my favorite Western novels. So, yeah. yeah. My favorite part of the book was the fight against the Kraken. I thought it was great. And although I did love the art, I wish they would have shown an image of the Kraken. I think a drawing of it would have been really cool and really interesting to see. Maybe make it a double spread, so it was across both pages. That would have been really great, but it's fine. I would recommend this book to anyone and everyone. And for similar titles, basically the same thing as my other two reviews on this text: Game of Thrones, Stormlight Archive, and Werewolves, which is the YA werewolf fantasy story that I showed in my last review of this series. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think about anything and everything. Leave recommendations down below. Anything you like. Thank you. See you guys later.